And the worst were the tobacco worms that were about big around as a stogie cigar. That the first thing they did when you pulled them off to stomp them on the ground was they spit tobacco juice on you.
Oh,
And there's no way you can get that off. It just has to wear off.
oh, wow. Wow. And then it's interesting to me that you mentioned dogma because I had the same feeling about academic institutions. There is one chief that's been there for 30 years and he won't be removed till he dies. And now it's a woman, but in my time, when I started, it was all grumpy old white men. And whatever he said, you couldn't disagree. There was no science. It was a dictatorship and a cruel dictatorship. And from hence comes the white coat organizations that today continue that tradition of dogma and not listening to the parents and not listening to the practicing clinicians who often, like the farmer, have quite a bit of know-how with very little resources. And that hasn't changed. Do you think it's changed? Because it feels to me that it's only gotten worse.
Yeah.
I do think that it's gotten worse, Herb, because it seems that a great deal of time is spent in the residency program teaching about work-life balance. And they actually at Children's asked me to come and talk about that. And I said, I'll have to disqualify myself. I'm pretty lousy at that because I live in a small town. There is no work-life balance.
Yeah, but don't you think that a small town, because I practiced medicine for 3 years in a small town, and there is a tremendous respect for people's time. Like, they don't just call you because the kid sneezed, because they're like, no, I can't bother him. He needs to show up in the office in the morning.
Yeah.
They will call you more often when the kid's really sick or they'll stop by. And at least my experience was they were very differential. They were very kind to you when they needed to bother you. And I was shocked. This is in 1992 through 95. I said, what what call service do we use? Like when somebody needs to reach me, where do they call? And they laughed at me. They go, it's the hospital operator. I'm like, what? I said, and he said, don't worry, you won't get many calls. The hospital operator knows everybody in town and she triages people. I'm like, what do you mean? What training is she has? She has no training, just common sense. Mom calls, 5-year-old has a fever, looks good. She's okay. Well, yeah, I think you can wait. Call the office tomorrow and I'm not gonna bother Dr. Bravo for that. And then before I got there, I don't know, 5, 10 years before that, at this critical access hospital, there was no emergency room doctor in there.
Mhm.
It was a
Mhm.
nurse. And she would triage stuff and then call the family doctor, the pediatrician, the obstetrician, if she thought it was necessary. If not, she just sent them home and told them to see you in the morning.
Or when I first came here in July 85, that's exactly the way it was and continued that way for 4 years, that there was no standing ED doc and whoever was on call for whatever walked through the door, MIs, heart attacks, plane crashes. They didn't have a standing staff there. Now, in terms of being really respectful of your time, when I first came here, and it still happens sometimes, there's usually a line of people at church that want to ask me a question. So my experience is a little bit different than that. Or people knock on your door and say, do you think this is okay?
Yeah, they do that.
I had only one time somebody ever knocked on the door, but they usually respect you. But I came in much later. From what I heard, when they started our office, Dr. Reichman, the interesting thing about a legacy, the man's been passed away. He passed away 25 years ago, yet we're still talking about him. It's amazing. That's a legacy
You're right.
because he created it and he started it in his garage, just like,
Wow.
and then it just advanced and continued and pivoted. Herb, I bet you don't know. I used to work on a farm. In high school, I wanted to be a vet. Listen to this story.
Really?
And so I started working in Monticello, New York. It was a cow farm, getting milk and everything. So the farmer tells us you have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go in the fields and find all the cattle and bring them down. So by 7 o'clock, we can start milking the cow. That was very bad. I didn't like that.